In this video, I'll show you how you can create a PowerPoint presentation that loops automatically. So a PowerPoint presentation that will be used and displayed perhaps in a window or on a display screen that takes care of itself and doesn't require any intervention by the presenter. First of all, you've got your brand new PowerPoint presentation here. We need to make sure that it's set up for the right size for the display that you're going to be using. From the tab at the top, go to Design, then go to Slide Size and make sure it's set to the wide screen option. Whilst you're also on this tab, you can select a colour scheme. So from the Variants pane, click the More button and then choose the colour scheme that you wish to use. So there are some default colour schemes that come with Microsoft PowerPoint, but you can create your own as well. I'm going to choose Blue Warm as our colour scheme for this presentation. Returning now back to the Home tab, the first thing I'm going to do is set a colour scheme for my whole PowerPoint presentation. So I'm going to set the background colour by right-clicking on my slide, formatting the background, and then choosing a solid fill based upon my colour scheme. So I'm going to make a nice blue-grey colour and apply it to all. So I'm using a plain background here because this allows us to use some transitions which make the slide look a bit more funky. When we've got movement of text coming in and out of the presentation, the slide transitions actually provide some very slick animations. And these work best when you have a blank slide background. So first of all, I've got my title. So I've just popped in there Demo Presentation as a title and my name as the subtitle. I'm then going to add a new slide. And for this, really, we don't want to be using bullet points here. The best thing to do is actually change your slide layout to be blank. This will give you the full scope here to create some really interesting presentations. So what I'm going to do first of all is create a slide that sets people's imagination going, grabs their interest. And for this, I'm going to give them a stat. This stat is going to be talking about 99% of slides. And at the moment, I'm going to make this font really, really big. I'm going to add another text box in. So adding a little bit of text and aligning that up. You see it snaps actually there. So you get perfect alignment with the number. And it's just a little bit too big there. So I'm just going to drop that down just to font size a little bit, somewhere in the middle. There we are. So you can see we've got quite a nice looking slide. We've got a nice big number, grabs people's attention, and we've got some text that's aligned up with that number. I'm going to add another slide in here. And on this slide, I'm just going to put some pretty pictures on here. So I'm going to put a picture of some leaves. And I'm going to make this full size of the slide. So I'm just going to align that to one side first of all. Maximizing that. There we go. Just bumping up a bit. So there we have a slide with some leaves on it. But what I want to do is I want to take this text, I want that to disappear in a funky way, and then I want these leaves to appear afterwards. I'm just going to put another slide in afterwards to show you this. So let's see what happens if we add in some animations for some transitions here. We've got our demo presentation title. I want to add a transition to this slide. And some of the really cool transitions are down the bottom here with dynamic content. And pan, as you just saw there, allows the slide to move in really slickly, nice and smoothly. It's a little bit slow, so I'm just going to change the duration up the top here to be a bit quicker. And I want to make sure this is advancing automatically. We're creating this particular PowerPoint presentation so it runs automatically without mouse clicks. So when we need to change the advanced slide setting to after a particular time. So I'm going to make that 5 seconds. So if we go here, we've got the first slide, we've got the second slide, and now I've got my third slide. Again, I want the same sort of effect, so I'm just going to change the pan option, and instead of it following the same direction, I'm going to tell it to move to the right, so it slides out like that. Now, as you can see here, when the text goes out, the image slides in, and the image sliding in doesn't actually look that good. It looks a bit sort of PowerPointy. So I'm actually going to add an animation to the specific image. So here, clicking on the image so we can see it's selected. Let me just zoom out a bit so you can see that better. You can see it's selected now with all the little toggles around it. I'm going to go to animations now. And animations is for controlling animations on individual objects like an image. Any of these animations here, such as spinning or growing or darkening, they're a bit rubbish. Don't use them. So instead, the only animation you probably should be using is fade. And fade allows you just to bring the image in. Again, I'm going to allow a little bit of a delay between the slide transitioning and this image being brought on, and I want this to happen after the previous automatic animation, which will be the slide transition. So I'm just going to put that delay in there. There we go. After previous, I'm going to make it a half a second fade, and it's going to be a delay 1 second after the slide has been created, moved to. Again, we need to really make that image disappear. So I'm selecting the image again in order to add, let's bring up the animation pane, that helps to look at things more clearly. We've got a image here that's going to appear automatically, and we want it to disappear automatically. So I'm going to go to Add Animation, Exit, Fade. And we can see here how that disappears, and that happens as a second animation on this animation pane. Selecting that animation, again I want this to happen after the previous automatically, and I want a delay, you hear my mouse clicking, of 5 seconds. So that image is going to be on screen for 5 seconds, and then it's going to disappear. Then we want maybe something else to appear. So just popping back here to my new slide. I've just popped some text on this slide. Not particularly good text here, it's a bit bland, not particularly good to use. Just change that, separating that out a bit. So just injecting some theme colours in there, theme colours that will work well on a darker background. That's my final slide. I'm again going to add a transition in. This time I'm going to use, let's have a look at Orbit, there we go. That's a bit fancy, that one, maybe a bit too fancy, but we'll go with that at the moment. And of course we want this to advance automatically, so I'm just going to pop back to the third slide. I want that to advance after 8 or maybe 7 seconds there, to allow the time for the picture to be on the screen, because we've set that to be 5 seconds long. The slide transition for the final slide, again automatically after 5 seconds, and that will loop round to the start slide. And that start slide also needs to be set to be automatically advanced. We'll do that after 3 seconds. And we need to introduce a transition for this slide. Let's just put in conveyor just to show a slightly different approach. So we've now got 4 slides here, each with their own transition. One of the slides, the image here, has an animation to introduce it automatically, but in order for the whole thing to run automatically by itself and keep looping and looping around, we need to have one final setting. So we go to Slideshow tab, go to Setup Slideshow, change the show options to loop continuously until escape, and then click OK. And now we're ready to run the presentation. So do that by just hitting F5 or start from the beginning.